And now San Mateo County Libraries is thrilled to introduce James Park. James Park is a culinary producer and food content creator based in Brooklyn. He is professionally trained at the International Culinary Center, and after his culinary school education, he has worked with various food media brands like The Kitchen, Eater, Food 52, BuzzFeed, and more. He shares his love and passion for Korean cuisine and culture, fried chicken, chili crisp, and more. His first cookbook, Chili Crisp, came out in August 2023, and you can find him eating and cooking his feelings at Jamesy World on social media. So yay! We're so happy to have you, James.
Hey,
Yeah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I don't know whether the AC is like bothering, but like my AC is like literally blowing cold air to me, so I'm in a very, very happy condition right now.
Nice. That's the way.
Yeah.
That's great. And then go ahead and tell us what recipe are you going to be
Oh
cooking
yeah.
for us tonight?
So today I'm very, very excited. Oh, first of all, hello everyone. My name's James. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching me make this watching me cook my feeling as well. So today I'm very, very excited to share this like perfect summery cold noodle dish called Bibim Guksu. So Bibim Guksu is like a Korean spicy cold noodle dish that it's really easy to make. It's super quick and it has all the spicy, tangy, like nutty flavors. And it's a perfect summer dish. And the reason why I wanted to highlight this today is, it's hot outside no matter where you are, since like in the Bay Area or New York, and you barely have to like, turn on the heat, and it's very cooling and refreshing. And I don't know whether it's just me, but like during summer when you're sweating a lot, I feel like I tend to lose my appetite a little bit, and the spicy flavors and the cooling noodles really bring my appetite. So hopefully this recipe will inspire you to cook and like bring your lost appetite and just push through this like heat wave that we're all in right now. Yeah, so I guess we'll just get started. So this is really, really simple. So you only need like a few pantry items, and typically you will use gochujang, which is like a Korean spicy red pepper paste. But instead of that, since I wrote a whole cookbook about chili crisp, I replaced that with chili crisp so that you really get that like complex dynamic flavors of chili crisp as the main sauce. And there are other umami salty flavors like soy sauce and rice vinegar and sugar. So it's a really, really balanced sauce, and you can put it on any kind of noodles. But today I'm using somyang, which are a little bit thin noodles, and it has a like a perfect like mouth feel when you're slurping, and they absorb the sauce really, really good. So let's get started with making sauce. In order to do that, this is my, I know everyone is, if you follow me on Instagram or if you have seen me, I've been kind of like sharing my jar of chili crisp as a gift. And sadly, I am not selling this to anyone or at places because making food products in America is very difficult, and I don't really know how to really get started, but it's been a joy to really share and give my chili crisp with everyone. And so far, I've only received positive reviews. So let's start with the sauce. Of course, the main ingredient is chili crisp. And I'm using my everyday savory chili crisp, but you can really use any kind of chili crisp out there. You can use laogatma, you can use momofuku, but try to get more of the crisp of the chili crisp rather than oil so that you really get all the flavors. And we have about 3 tablespoons of chili crisp. Depending on how spicy you want, you can up it or lower it, but I feel like 2 to 3 feels like a perfect amount of spice. And then we're going to add some soy sauce. And this is like my little kitchen hack. I keep my soy sauce in a sriracha bottle, and I think the dispenser is really perfect when you are using soy sauce. And I think this was inspired by my favorite dumpling shops in Chinatown in New York. And I saw that they were just keeping, I'll have to say, watered down soy sauce in a sriracha bottle. And I was like, that's genius. I'm going to do that. So I feel like this will kind of make your soy sauce dispensing game better. After that, we're going to add rice wine vinegar. When you're thinking about building sauce, you really have to think about the acidity, the spice, the sweetness, and the saltiness. Usually, a lot of sauces, in my opinion, lack in acidity, and acidity brings all that like flavors into like its full potential, in my opinion. So I'm using rice wine vinegar, which has a little bit of sweetness, but you can also use apple cider vinegar or white wine vinegar, any kinds of vinegar you have. It will really bring these flavors to the burst as well. And after that, we're going to add some, so this was half tablespoon. And we're going to add some toasted sesame oil as well. And I absolutely love to use toasted sesame oil. I didn't even know that there was a non-toasted sesame oil in America. So try to use toasted sesame oil because it's so nutty, it's so fragrant, and it makes all the difference. And lastly, we're going to finish with sugar. If you see it, I'm putting my measurement into my soju glass. And if you have shot glass, those are really, really good measuring cup for your cooking. And that's it. We only have like 5 ingredients in, and basically mix it up. And we have this somewhat runny and like liquidy sauce, but don't worry because the starch of the noodles are gonna really thicken the sauce and it will absorb everything. So now the sauce is ready. We're gonna add some fresh ingredients. We are using cucumber as the final garnish, so we're gonna save it. And for this, we're gonna add 3 cloves of garlic. I always use peeled garlic because, you know, I feel like I don't always have time to really peel my garlic. And I don't even know when the last time that I peeled garlic from like garlic bulbs. And you get this like a pound of peeled garlic for like $4. And as a Korean, and you know, I just go through pounds of garlic all the time. And sometimes I like to grind and like make the minced garlic in a food processor and keep it there because I use so much garlic. But for something like this, I recommend you know, cutting and mincing the garlic freshly because you get really the fragrant flavors of garlic in a more pungent way, and that's what you want. And okay, so we have about tablespoon of garlic going right into the sauce. And then if I have to choose one ingredient that I cannot live without is scallion. I go through so much scallion and I use it on everything. And if you probably look at all my recipes in the cookbook, it probably has like scallion in every single recipe except dessert. But this one, I also love to add a lot. And I'm using about 2 scallions, but depending on how thick and big those scallions are, you don't have to use 2, just kind of use handful. And you want to save about a tablespoon of the green so you can garnish, and the rest you can put into the sauce. And just like that, we have made our savory spicy sauce base for the Bibim Guksu. And perfect timing, the water is boiling and I'm using somen here. I kind of want to show you guys the type of noodles that I have. So when you go to H Mart or any sort of Korean market, you will be overwhelmed by so many different kinds of noodles. And this one particularly is called as like a thin round noodles. And if you look at it, it's super, super thin. It's almost like a capellini / angel hair pasta shape, but it's made, you know, it's a lot thinner. I mean, it's made out of wheat. And we're gonna cook it. You can follow the package direction, but I don't know whether this is a Korean thing or my mom has taught me that for you to know whether the noodles are cooked perfectly is that you have to remember the 3 boiling rule. I don't know whether you guys heard about it, but when you put the noodles in a hot boiling water, there's gonna be a point where it like comes up and bubbling because of the starch. And for that, you have to kill it with cold water. So you kind of calm the boiling starchy water down. And when it boils up again for the second time, you calm it again. And when it boils again for the third time, that's when the noodles are in a perfect condition. And I feel like it has always worked. And I don't know the logic behind it, but I wish you can see what's inside of my pot. But right now it's kind of bubbling. But in a few moments, there's going to be a point where it just kind of rises up. And then I'm going to pour the cold water. And yeah, so wow, I feel like I've been like talking nonstop for the past like 10 minutes. So hopefully what I've been saying has been entertaining, helpful, and stuff. And
Yeah.
now we're just gonna watch the noodles boil.
So
Yeah.
we did have some questions.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted to know if you have any tips for growing your own scallions using like the
Grilling?
ends,
Oh, or
growing
growing.
them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think when I've done it, I think you need to change the water more often than you think because the roots kind of have a little bit of gunk. Like I kind of stopped growing my own scallion because I go through so much. But when I did it, I remember having to change water more frequently than I thought. And I do think that keeps the scallions more fresh and longer.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now I'm pouring the cold water because it's like boiling. So, okay, just wanted to call that out moment. Was there
Nice.
another question?
Um, let's see. I know somebody, you did repeat it again, but just in
Yeah.
case they missed it, what type of noodle are you using?
Yes. So the type of noodles that I'm using is called somen, Somen. It is the thinnest noodle thickness, I guess, out of different noodle shapes out there. And I believe you can find these type of noodles for Chinese variations and Japanese variation, but truly the noodles are just a vessel for you to enjoy your sauce. So I don't really think the type of noodles matter because noodles are just vehicle for you to taste the sauce and slurping and all of that. So if you can find somen, you can just use any types of other noodles as well.
Okay, awesome. Good to know.
Yeah.
There we go, going in
And
for the second pour.
second round, and now it's gonna arise soon. And for this, you don't need to save any sort of a starchy water. And in fact, we're going to really wash the starch out of the noodles because since these are cold noodles, you don't want extra starch to get into the sauce. And you want to get rid of all the starch by washing them in cold water. So yeah, I'm gonna show you how to do that. And now let's see, it's about to rise. So I'm gonna taste. Honestly, tasting them is the best way to test whether they're cooked or not. They're perfect. So I'm going to, I feel like I'm in a real cooking show by showing you guys how to do that. Okay, so we got the noodles out here. And then immediately this is a bowl of cold noodles that I prepared. And you put it there. And then, like, my hands are clean. You just really want to wash the starch out of it. And preferably, you want to do this over running water. But for the purpose of today's demo, I will just show it like this. But make sure they're cold. And almost like when you add cold water when you are making like boiled eggs, you are shocking them or blanching vegetables. And that technique also applies here. You're really stopping the noodles to be cooked so that they kind of like shrink with the coldness and they tend to have a chewier textures at the end. Okay, and then I'm gonna pour this over my sink over here. And then now we have, make sure you're getting rid of all that water. And now we have a prepared sauce. So let's add them. And there's a note in my head notes for this recipe that sure, you can use your chopsticks or tongues to mix it, but there's this term in Korean called 손맛, which translates as hand taste. So when you mix it with your hand, whether you're making kimchi or you're mixing noodles, the way you are like mixing the noodles with the sauce with your hand makes all the difference, in my opinion. So I recommend doing this with your either clean hands or I always have some like gloves ready. So you are just mixing it, mixing it. And what's really beautiful is that what used to look saucy or almost like watery, now there's like no water and the starch of the noodles have completely absorbed and all that strand of noodles have really absorb this delicious sauce. And now, like, look at that. And what I love about this dish is also is that this is something that my mom used to make during summer. And whenever I had no appetite, my mom knew that there was a sign for her to make a Bibim Guksu for me. So sometimes Bibim Guksu has like a kimchi and like some radish top. And it's very like a humble dish because it's made with like pantry items. So my mom would make a huge batch of noodle. She did not know portion controls. So she and she would just like whip this up in like 5 minutes. And she would like actually, while mixing it, she would give this directly to my mouth. And just getting that taste from my mom's hand was a game changer and immediately brought like my appetite. And two of us would finish like 5 people portion. And then we'll fall back to like sleep in front of AC again. And that's such like a core happy summer memories for me. And now making this dish like always makes me look back of my like mother's son time. And so now the noodles are already done and ready. We're gonna plate it. Uh, I don't know whether you guys would recognize this, but like these are what we call like the bunshik plate. So bunshik means like more of like a Korean affordable like dish. Like so all the dishes like tteokbokki, like kimbap, more like after school, like affordable dish are often served in this type of like plastic and this very like specific vibe. So I like to plate it here and you kind of do it like that. Oh my God. I already had dinner because it's like 9:30 here, but looking at this, I feel like this is such a great night snack. And see, there's like no water left, and the noodles are just perfectly saucy. And then now we're just going to top it off with some Persian cucumber. I love a little bit of crunch on top of this. So we're just gonna julienne these. We don't really need a lot. So we're gonna garnish with our reserve scallion right here and our cucumber and some, of course, toasted sesame seeds. And I always like to finish just a little bit of toasted sesame oil, even though we did use it in the sauce. I do think just finishing it, similar to like olive oil drizzle at the end or truffle oil, I believe it makes all the difference. So just a little bit of that. And now we have my chili crisp Bibim Guksu here. Ta-da! That was so fast, right?
It looks
And we
so
barely
good.
had, yeah, and we barely had to stand in front of the stove. Like all you needed was just like cook your noodles, and everything else is done, just off in your kitchen without turning on the oven. So it's a perfect summer dish.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And it was, well, I don't know if I don't remember all the ingredients in your chili crisp, but I
yeah.
think that you could definitely make it vegetarian if it's not currently
Oh,
vegetarian.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can, I believe my chili crisp is not vegetarian because it uses chicken powder, but
Okay,
I
I thought so.
also
Yeah.
offer a variation of using mushroom powder, which is super,
Mm.
super flavorful. And I believe, I haven't actually made it, but I think when you make it with the mushroom powder, the level of umami will be probably out of the roof. It will be much, much more flavorful than using
Yeah.
chicken powder. So I highly recommend making the vegetarian version. And also, if you're a vegetarian, I have another recipe for chili crisp called garlicky onion crunch that doesn't use like other chicken powder or anything like that. It's all about the crunchiness of like the crushed garlic and dried onion flakes. And it's full of like crispy, savory goodness. And it will be a great chili crisp to use for this particular recipe because you're getting all that like crunchy bits of the chili crisp.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And
Yeah.
I realized we started doing, your recipe and everything, and I think that there are some people who still don't entirely know, like, what is chili crisp?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I'm sorry
I
that
know, I was like, I completely forgot.
completely forgot to even talk about chili crisp because I live in this world and everyone is obsessed with chili crisp.
Yeah.
I am. So I apologize if you watch this whole demo and I just thought like, what is chili crisp? And chili crisp is like a spicy, savory texture condiment that truly goes with everything. Mine specifically uses like three different kind of chili flakes, and a lot of people get confused between chili oil and crisp. But if you think about it, chili oil is truly the oily part of it, and the crisp is all the like flavoring ingredients. So like that can be garlic, it can be sesame seeds, it can be like poppy seeds or anything. And so chili crisp just has a combination of a flavorful crisp and chili oil, and not all chili crisp is equal. And that is something that I realized through my ongoing chili crisp journey and research. So when I first tried Lagama, which I would think that it's the universal, the godmother of chili crisp that got me into it. And I thought it was like super savory, but like there was a part of a flavoring that I couldn't pinpoint what was it that my Korean tongue wasn't familiar with. And then I started like trying so many different kinds, like fly by Jang, or a lot of my chef friends started making their own. And then here's another story of like why I feel so passionate about chili crisp. This is something that I also haven't talked about. So, I'm Korean immigrant, and then I love to cook Korean food, but a lot of times whenever I use chili crisp in my Korean cooking, the flavor just kind of clash in a way. So maybe it's the type of like seasonings or the type of chili flakes that are used in the different chili crisp. So like even though they taste great, it kind of felt like its own thing rather than like it blends with my Korean flavors. So when I had this opportunity to write a book about it, until then, I didn't even think that I needed to create my own because there are so many. And that was like 3 or 4 years ago. At that time, there were like 15 different things, and now I feel like there are over 50. Like I feel like I'm discovering new chili crisps every single day, which is a really, really great sign. But because there are so many options, I didn't feel the need to like make my own. But when I got this book opportunity and like had this like moment that okay, I'm Korean, I want to make a chili crisp that my Korean mom would appreciate because my Korean mom has a very specific taste bud that she would not appreciate anything else but Korean food. So I kind of did my little science experiment of using gochugaru, which is a Korean red pepper flakes. So my inspiration was that let me read all the labels of like my 20 different chili crisp collection, and I tasted all of them and did like my little research of I like this, I like that, what's the flavors here, and I read all the ingredients and I kind of study the oil and crisp ratio to realize I personally love the crisp part more than oil. So I decidedly wanted to make my chili crisp crisp heavy rather than oil heavy. So that's where all the flavoring and like the list of ingredients for my everyday savory chili crisp came together. And it took about 7 to 8 different trials. And when I tried my final version now, which has become my everyday favorite chili crisp, I felt like I unlocked something in a way. And, even though I was born in Korea, I grew up in Alabama, and now I live in New York City. All my different backgrounds, I wasn't quite sure where I put myself into. Like, sure, I'm Korean, but like when I go back to Korea, my family still lives in Korea as well. So I, there were moments that I quite didn't feel like I fit there. And then growing up in Alabama, I definitely felt challenged about like not being able to see my peers or Asian people or just like people where I can talk about my love for food. And then Chili Crisp was like my perfect vehicle for me to really connect with my other Asian friends. And it became like a conversation starter in a way. And I didn't know that so many people who grew up here has their own lovely memories of like cooking with chili crisp or tasting it, or maybe your family has your own thing. So it really became a tool for me to open up about my Korean stories, but also welcome other people who have a dear memories of chili crisp. And if you are not sure about it, it's a opportunity to like share, my obsession with it. And it's always a pleasure to see my friends who didn't know anything about chili crisp, and now I gave my jar of chili crisp, and they cannot stop telling me about how good it is, and they put it in everything. And when I went back to Korea 2 years ago, and I made this for my mom, and my Korean parents have never tasted what chili crisp was, or they don't even know what this was. And when I finally brought them a jar and they tasted it, and like just seeing and witnessing the moment of like them understanding this flavor and why I was so passionate about it. And it was such a special connection in a way that my parents finally understood what I was doing in America. I'm not kind of going on a traditional career path of a doctor or a lawyer and all of that. And my parents never quite understood what it meant to write a cookbook, what this meant, or like what chili crisp was. They were proud of me, but because I couldn't really share the flavors or ask them, like, how can I make this? Or like, I wasn't writing a cookbook about my mom's cooking or anything. So it felt very solitude in a way, and I couldn't really share any of this with my parents. But seeing them taste it and them keep telling me like, "Oh, James, I put your chili crisp into this," or like, "I made this like super traditional Korean food, and I put your chili crisp, and it tasted amazing." And my dad has a little bit of a farm right next to my house, so they make a little sam, which is like a lettuce sam. So traditionally, you would pair it with like a samjang, which is like a savory, like a Korean barbecue dipping sauce. But they're like, they don't even need it. They just have the lettuce and like other vegetables and rice, and they put my chili crisp and they eat it. And like, and now my mom is like teaching her friends how to make chili crisp, which is so cute. Yeah, I really feel like chili crisp has really turned my life into 180, and I feel so excited to share why my chili crisp tastes different. And I also get really excited to try other people's chili crisp. And it used to be just a Chinese condiment, but nowadays this has become an amazing vehicle for so many people who don't really know how to express themselves into their flavors. And it's a great way to, open up a conversation and share their background. And I get so delighted to see like Moroccan chili crisp or Filipino chili crisp, and hopefully everyone, regardless of your background, can really enjoy the magic and flavors of chili crisp.
Yeah, that's so awesome. So, in specifically in yours, I mean, I have the recipe in front of me, so I can see it. But for our viewers, who might not know, what did you put in it that were specifically like Korean ingredients that really make it have that kind of Korean influence?
Yeah, I think the big difference about my chili crisp is that there are two different parts. A lot of chili crisp recipes you see, you kind of assemble different ingredients and pour hot oil, right? So what happens is that the flavors are just hitting on a surface level. You're not really bringing the ingredients to the full potential just by pouring hot oil. So what I decided to do is to make a scallion garlic gochujang infused oil as the base. So before I arrange all my ingredients and pour hot oil, I take my time to really extract flavors of scallion and garlic and gochujang. So those are like kind of backbones of a lot of like Korean stews or like sauces. And I experimented with different things. I even did it with the tomato paste. But gochujang really brings that secret subtle umaminess when it's like stirred with oil. And the combination of scallion and garlic, they are very pungent on their own when it's like consumed raw. But when they're cooked and simmered in oil for a long time, they became like slightly sweet, like a little bit mellow taste that I think it makes a huge, huge difference. So that's like the first part of making my chili crisp. And the second part is arranging all the other crisps per se. So other chili crisp, um, a lot of people use citron peppercorn, which I think they're delicious, but my tongue is just not equipped for the tingling sensation. So I don't necessarily enjoy that. So I kind of try to find like different blends of a different chili flakes. There are like hundred thousands of different chili flakes, and you can use like smoked paprika, you can use red pepper flakes, and what I use, and in my opinion, the perfect blend for my chili crisp was a little bit of gochugaru, which is the Korean red pepper flakes. And to me, more than gochujang, gochugaru is what makes the Korean food like taste spicy. So it instantly turns the broth or like stir fry red. And like that is what makes kimchi, spicy and red. So I definitely wanted that to be the main flavor. And another one is just a Sichuan pepper flakes. Sichuan chili flakes. So there's a big difference between like Sichuan peppercorn and Sichuan chili flakes. So Sichuan chili flakes don't have the tingling mala taste, but it has this like a unique, very clean, slightly assertive, like a heat level that's quite different from gochugaru. So gochugaru, in the like spice level, it's a little bit lower than the Sichuan chili flakes. But when you look at it, the Sichuan chili flakes has a like the clean tasting of the spice level. And also, chili crisp was originally a Chinese condiment, so I kind of wanted to really blend my Chinese side and the Korean side and influences. And the third piece that really completes my puzzle was Aleppo pepper. So Aleppo pepper is a Mediterranean spice that very not spicy at all. It's almost like to the smoked paprika level, but it is responsible of making a beautiful golden, not golden, but like ruby red color when you pour hot oil. So when you just mix like just gochugaru and citron chili flakes, the color can be a little bit darker, not like pretty, but like mixed with Aleppo pepper and like the oil color just comes out so beautifully. And I want to paint my house with that color. And then all the other flavors are just like figuring out like seasoning. I feel like a lot of chili crisps out there don't have enough seasoning, so that's why you always need to add more. But like mine, I wanted it to be like strong enough to be a standalone seasoning or a condiment. So you don't really need to mix like other vinegar stuff when you're pairing my chili crisp with dumplings. So there's like the toasted sesame oil, chicken powder, and black vinegar, brown sugar, and a little bit of MSG and ground ginger. So all of these elements really hit all the flavor profiles of like sweet, salty, umami, sour, like heat, and it really completes and hits all your flavor profile. And at the end, we pour the hot oil. So you are mixing the gochujang garlic scallion oil and all that ingredients. And what hot oil does is that it's like waking all those ingredients up in a way. So like when pepper flakes are hit with the hot oil, you hear all that like lovely sizzling sound, and you're gonna smell it. And it's almost like, hey, wake up, time to like do your work, like release all your flavors and aroma. and I finish it with showers of fried shallots, which kind of add the like the crunchy, almost like a jammy textures at the end. And I feel like all the elements of my chili crisp, I know it can be a long list of ingredients, but I've tried it just taking out one or like made a little bit of modification, and I realize all of them really have a place. And sure, like I am all about exploring your own blend of chili crisp, and I think that's the beauty of it. But I feel like my everyday savor chili crisp just represents like everything who I am as a person in this little jar of deliciousness.
That's so awesome. I definitely need to try this now. I'm like, oh, I'm
Yeah, I know that what's really sad is that like by sharing this recipe, I wanted more people to taste my chili crisp, but I didn't realize so many people rather buy it than like make it. And but like when people are making it, when they tag me and they real like one of the greatest joy is that like for me to be tagged and like read like captions about how they didn't really think that they needed to make chili crisp and they made my chili crisp, and it's like, oh my god, this is the best thing, I'm gonna give this to everyone. So I feel like I'm making the world a little bit better by sharing this chili crisp recipe, and you can make the world and your friends happier by gifting this chili crisp. It's a wonderful wonderful homemade food gift that you can just give for like birthday or holidays or just for no occasions.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah, so one of the questions we have from our viewers tonight, they're curious, who are some of your like chef influences? Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
Mm. So for me, it's absolutely Ina Garten. I just love her like friendly approach about cooking, and I know that Ina cooks because she loves to entertain and she loves to make people happy. And to me, I got into cooking because I love to like make my people happy, and like I feel like that's one of my gifts in a way that I want to share with my friends. And seeing my friends like enjoy the food brings me so much joy in a way that I can't quite feel by just cooking for myself, even though I do love cook for myself. And I just love her attitude about like life and like cooking and friends. And I hope to just like live a life like Aina. And when there's a question, always use good vanilla. So
I love that. Yeah, you can change it and be like, always use good chili crisp.
yeah, exactly. And store bought is always fine, which I also tell everyone. You do not need to make my chili crisp recipes. There are so many delicious chili crisp out there. So store bought is perfectly fine. And you can use that store bought chili crisp to make all of my recipes. And speaking of like one of the hardest challenges of my book was that I needed to make sure that all my recipes work with other like chili crisps as well. So I had to make one just to see whether it works, and I had to sometimes I had to make the same recipes or 4 or 5 times with other chili crisps to make sure that it works. So it was a tough time where I had to eat gallons of so much chili crisp as I was developing recipes for the book.
Uh, on that topic, one of the sections you have in the book was desserts. And we
Yeah.
have, yeah, some questions about like adding chili crisp to dessert.
Hmm.
I know you talk a lot in the book about like you first, tried it with regular chili crisps, and then
Yeah.
it was like, oh, the
It was a
surprise.
nightmare that I do not want to dream again.
I've been there with the accidental like garlicky dessert, and you're like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
it is
Uh,
a nightmare.
I like still haven't woken up from that nightmare sometimes. It was so like discouraging, honestly, because like
Oh,
I just felt like what am I supposed to do now? I don't know what to do. And
yeah.
that's where I developed very nutty chili crisp. So, for me, like when I thought about chili crisp, I thought it had to be like super flavorful. So like I added garlic, I added scallion, vinegar, and all that kind of stuff, which you want for the savory thing, but you don't want any of those in your dessert. So I like thought hard about, okay, what is chili crisp and how can I really strip all those additional flavors, but just focus on the true formula of chili crisp. So what happened was salt, sugar, oil, chili flakes, and then I really love textures in my dessert, especially like roasted nuts. So I kind of created a blend of like walnuts, almonds, peanuts, and those bring different set of aroma than like scallion, garlic, gochujang infused oil. So like because there are no like savory elements, that like nutty roastiness of the nuts took this chili crisp to a whole different way. And then this alone is very, very delicious. But since it doesn't have like the garlic and scallion and like other seasoning element, it kind of like brings it adds like a lovely heat without bringing additional flavors, if that makes sense. So let's say that you're eating something savory, but like you just want like a little bit of that like oomph of spice, and I use this. And what I loved about using was like using in the dessert. So like when this was mixed with like other sweet elements like chocolate, strawberry jam, or like white chocolate, condensed milk, heavy cream, like it never overpowered the integrity of like the sweet desserts, but it added that like a wonderful texture of nuts with a little bit of heat. And what's been really exciting to watch was that whenever I made all this like a dessert, whether it's a brownie or like I have this like a spicy zesty pound cake, which uses like lots of lemon and like chili crisp as well. People take a bite of it and they're like, oh, this doesn't taste like spicy at all. And exactly 3 seconds later, they're like, oh, actually, there's a heat into that. So I love that the spice is not like so overwhelming in my dessert, but like it definitely like, knocks the back of your tongue in a way like, hey, spice, I'm here. And I think that just makes the dessert even more exciting because I'm not the most like dessert loving person. So just having a little bit of like either savory or a little bit of the spicy elements of the dessert is like what gets me excited.
Yeah, I feel like that's the section that's most intriguing to me. I'm like, ooh, um, obviously I definitely want to make like the everyday or the nutty chili crisp, but just for curiosity's sake, did you find that there were any store-bought ones that could work in a dessert recipe, or is it pretty much like,
Yeah, actually, so this was a short run, but Trader Joe's
mm,
had a limited run of a cranberry orange chili crunch.
oh,
Yeah, and that was available around like the Thanksgiving time.
okay.
Trader Joe's is really upping their like chili crisp game. I know that Trader Joe's has their own thing called like garlicky onion crunch or something. I
Hmm.
actually the garlicky onion crunch is like my homage of Trader Joe's, and a lot of people complain. It's like, oh, this is not spicy at all. But like, what I appreciate about that was, first of all, it's educating people what this was. So I think it does a huge job of just like, creating a product that people can be curious. And then now chili, that their version of chili crisp is not spicy. So like, I think it's more welcoming and like more people are excited to try it. And what they did an amazing job was keeping the flakes like super crunchy. I can almost hear the crispness of like the garlic and onion as I'm like spooning in. And I think it's a fantastic chili crisp option out there. And now I see that Trader Joe's has developed like jalapeno lime chili crisp, cranberry orange chili crisp. And today I actually went to Trader Joe's and they even have a chili crisp, like a chili crunch, like a sprinkles, like seasonings. And I tasted it and they're very, very good. And they have a chili crisp peanuts, chili crisp hummus. So I really appreciate what Trader Joe's has really done for the chili crisp community, and I hope more people see the different pairing. That like, oh, like you can like put chili crisp on hummus. Oh, I can mix chili crisp with like my roasted peanuts. So yeah, I hope they continue to create innovative products. But sad that they discontinued the cranberry orange one, and
Hopefully it comes back.
I did make the brownies with them, and they're very, very delicious.
Okay. So I'll have to keep an eye out if it comes back in the fall.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, another question that we had gotten kind of related to like, welcoming people into the world of chili crisp who maybe
Hmm.
aren't as familiar. Somebody said uh they've always loved spicy food, but they've had a harder time getting their in-laws to love spicy food too. But do you have any like recommendations for one of the recipes in the book that maybe would like be a little less intimidating, something that
Yeah.
they could try with them that would be a good option?
My first thought is the burrata salad. So I have
Mm.
a salad recipe with like arugula, apple, walnuts, and burrata. And then a lot of people get scared of the look. I think people just look at something red and they immediately associate it with like, oh, that's gonna be spicy, and it's a little bit of intimidation. But what I encourage is like when it's paired with like something dairy, so like
Mm.
yogurt or like cheese, and like the combination that I'm sharing in my book is like burrata and the chili crisp, and like the chili crisp has like it's incorporated into vinaigrette, so it's mixed with a little bit of balsamic vinegar and like lemon, and like the cheesiness and the that salty cooling cheesy flavors of burrata go so well with like the crisp and the spiciness. So I think introducing that like spicy flavors can be appetizing by bringing like more of a dairy forward or like dairy mix like food could be a really good way for them to kind of overcome the fear of spice, because I think they just need to know that spice can be exciting and spicy flavors can be it's like it can be awakening in a way, and they don't have to be painful. And I think just mixing with a little bit of like dairy products and heavy cream or burrata or any sort of cheese would be a really good way for them to hopefully start enjoying the spicy food and make the burrata salad as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And then uh other question, you did talk about like, you uh don't obviously didn't become like, doctor or a lawyer or something like that. That might be kind of the, quintessential thing for an Asian immigrant kid to do. Did you always want to go into like, cooking from when you were younger, or when did you
Yeah.
realize that that was like you wanted to go, to culinary school?
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I thought I was gonna be a K-pop idol. So
Amazing.
I kept telling my parents growing up in Korea that like, oh, you're not gonna see my face a lot because I'm gonna be on TV. So I very much had this like a goal to be a like celebrity or like a K-pop star. But I ended up coming to America almost like as a way to escape Korean like education system. For those who don't know, when I was growing up in Korea, the Korean education system was so like restricted, and like I think the main event that really took me to the edge was like I got slapped by my Korean like home teacher because my hair was too long. So it doesn't have to do with any sort of like academic. I was a really, like all A, like good student, but I got punished because my classes were not suitable for students or like my hair was too long, all of that. So I didn't even think about like, oh, I'm gonna come to America to like achieve my American dream. It was more about like I need to leave Korea ASAP. So many people think that like, oh my god, how did you come to America by yourself? So I came to America by myself the age of 13, so I kind of lived with different host families, and a lot of people think that it's like an admirable thing, but like it's more of like obliviousness. I don't know what it was like to live apart from my parents. I didn't know what it entailed by, like growing up in America where I didn't know the culture or know the language. But what I loved about was the American education system. We have all of this extracurricular, and so I got involved with acting. I got involved with choir. So I kind of fulfilled my desire to be on the stage by like participating in those. And now as I kind of fell in love with food, and like I think the way that I fell in love with food was more like with nostalgia. So because I grew up in Alabama where I wasn't really exposed to a lot of like Korean or Asian community, food was my way of like staying close to my roots, and I try really hard not to forget about like my Korean side or Korean people, even though at the time growing up in Alabama, I tried my best to hide it. So like I wasn't really hanging out with Asian people or like Korean people in school, but when I come home, the first thing that I did was like open a tub of kimchi and ate it. So like that was kind of my way of like, James, don't forget that you are so Korean. And now like I came to New York City where there's just like a diverse culture emerges, and it's just so many people from different cultures like show their passion in food or work. And it was just such a exhilarating, like inspiring place. And now, even though it's not as big as like, LA, K Town, New York City has like K Town where like I have like access to Korean restaurants and Korean food. So I basically started cooking because I couldn't afford to eat out to all these Korean restaurants because my parents both worked when I was growing up in Korea. So I don't necessarily have memories of like my mom making food for me in the kitchen. So that's like one thing that I kind of wish that I had growing up, but I don't. So I consider like Ida Garten or Mangchi, who's like this wonderful Korean, everyone's like internet Korean mom who taught them how to make like kimchi. I consider them as like my mom who taught me how to cook. And then I think I just kind of like thought about, okay, I know how I feel and I'm the happiest when I'm cooking, when I'm in the kitchen. But I knew that being a chef wouldn't be the right path for me because of the culture of the kitchen. I know how brutal it is, and like it's just like very exhausting to be in the kitchen. So that's why I have so much respect for chefs or like line cooks who are actually doing all that work. But I still wanted to go to a culinary school just so that I understand, is this something that I can do? Do I even have skills to do that? So I didn't go there just to go there. My college had this like a program where I could get a degree from both culinary school and like the hospitality management. And I felt like that was my calling. So I changed everything to make that happen. And it did. And that was kind of the beginning of my like food media career. And then luckily I fell onto the like food media world by working at places like Eater, where I learned so much about like what's happening in America in terms of food culture and like different types of restaurant opening, different chef stories. And now I have luckily built this platform where I could share my own stories. And yeah, I didn't plan on any of this, but I'm doing a little bit of everything that I wish to do in this role. I'm talking to you. I'm almost like in my own kitchen stage to entertain you guys and just share stories. And I get to cook for my friends. I get to feed myself with delicious food. So I'm really grateful that I get to do this for a living, and I hope to continue sharing these happy, delicious moments with everyone through a book or through video or whatever platform that will be.
All right. Well, we're almost out of time. I have two fast, quick questions for you. One, what is your, if you do you have a favorite recipe in the
Okay.
Chili Crisp book? And if you do, what is it? And then two, what is next for you? Do you have any upcoming projects or anything that you're working on that's going to be something on the horizon for people to watch out for?
Yeah, so I have to say, my favorite recipe of, ooh, that's hard, but I think Mm. I think my favorite recipe would be silken tofu soup. It's on page 123. So that is my take on sundubujjigae, which is a very like comfort food for many Koreans. And I think that's the recipe that I made to realize, oh, I can bring chili crisp into Korean food in a way. So I didn't really see that there was a space for chili crisp into Korean cuisine, but that was the recipe that I made and immediately felt like, oh, there's something in here. So once I made this recipe with my own Korean chili crisp, it just tasted like home. And it was so magical that I got to recreate the flavors of home with something that feels like very American and non-Korean to me, but it still tastes so Korean to me. So I feel like that recipe, I'm really, really proud. And it just it is like one of the core recipes that makes my chili crisp book different from other like chili crisp stuff. And what was the second question?
Like, what's next for you? Do you
Oh
have another
yeah. Whew.
project you're working on, another book, or,
Yeah,
other
you
stuff?
know, I don't really know what's next for me, but I know that I don't have like my second cookbook working on, but I
Exciting.
this is more I don't know whether I can share this, but like I'm currently I'm developing all the recipes for H Mart cookbook. So wink wink H Mart is writing a cookbook. And I feel very honored to be the main recipe developers for all the Korean recipes for H Mart. So that's been really exciting because my first cookbook was about like infusing my Koreanness through the perspective of chili crisp. But now I get to be really Korean and I get to share full Korean stuff. And I have something that I can ask my mom for her thoughts. And I really hope that this book that will come out in like 2 years or so, it will be something that people are really excited to cook, and something that I can even share a little bit more about myself and just kind of unite America with the beauty of Korean flavors because we all love H Mart. So yeah.
I love that so much. That is so exciting. Yeah, I love H Mart. I remember the first time I walked in and I was like, oh my gosh,
Oh my
it's the
god, me
cleanest
too.
Asian grocery store I've ever been
I
in my life.
cried. I didn't know such thing existed because in Alabama we didn't have H Mart. So it's
Yeah.
like I
Oh,
only got like the dusty tub of gochujang at the back of like a gas station.
oh no.
So,
Gas
so
station.
just yeah,
Gochujang, no.
just seeing like a
Sounds
whole
scary.
clean market
It's
with
so
like
clean.
amazing produce and like I don't know, like it's more than just Korean stuff, it just became like a home, an exciting place, an amusement park almost, for everyone who loves like Asian or Korean food. So I feel very excited that I got to be a part of this exciting project, and I can't wait to share all my delicious Korean recipes through HMAR Cookbook.
Yeah, that'll be so exciting. All
Yeah.
right. Well, we are coming up on time, so I'm gonna do my
I feel
little
like you
exit
guys need to
speech. I
hear
know.
my slurping because I've been staring
Yes,
at my
share the slur.
noodles,
They look
and
so
now I even
good.
put like a microphone so like you can actually
Like right there.
hear my full on like slurping ASMR. And
Listen in
so I have
everybody.
to
No.
say, okay, so the noodles have been sitting out for like past like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. And because of that oil of the chili crisp, they're like not soggy. They're still looking like glistening.
Mm.
So I feel like I will just give you that indirect satisfaction of like eating. So here we
Oh,
go.
so good.
Mm, mm.
Mm. Yes.
Wow. I mean, moments like this makes me realize I'm actually doing a good job. Like, I'm always a little bit skeptical, like, is this gonna be good? But like, this is so good, and like, it's so delicious. And I know that if my mom were here, she would definitely appreciate these. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. I'm so excited to try it and especially to do the hand mixing method.
Mm,
Yes.
yeah,
All right.
so good.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much, James. And thank you
Of
to
course.
everyone who has joined us tonight. Please check out San Mateo County Library's upcoming author talks at smcl.org/author talks. And we would also appreciate it if you could tell us how SMCL did with this program at smcl.org/rate this event. Um, and don't forget to check out Chili Crisp from your local library. Um, or you can buy it from James's website and be sure to follow James at Jamesy World. Like that's correct, right? Yes, at
Yeah,
Jamesy World.
correct.
Yes, where
Yeah.
he does all sorts of amazing videos. I know I saw like a really good looking like dessert recipe the other day that was like a play on
Oh
tiramisu
yeah.
or something. Yeah.
I'm kind of
Oh,
going through my tiramisu phase.
good
So yeah,
stuff.
come for the chili crisp and stay for all everything above.
All right. Well, thank you so much, James, and
Thank you
have a good
everyone for
night,
coming.
everybody.
Oh, good night. Bye.